Hello, what is up, my naturals? How are you? I'm Gabby Wallace, your American English teacher, here with another English lesson for you. Now, I just realized I'm sitting on a very creaky chair. So if you hear something like that, it's just the chair. Don't worry. It may be time for a new one. Anyway, you're here because you want to learn how to speak English naturally, more like a native English speaker. The interesting thing is that most native English speakers make so many mistakes all the time when we compare with standard, correct English rules. So in this lesson, I'm actually going to teach you how to speak English better than most native English speakers. How about that? Because a lot of native English speakers make mistakes. As I mentioned, compared with standard correct English, we make mistakes when it comes to grammar, structure, apostrophes, grammar rules, even how we use vocabulary. And so in this lesson, I'm going to share many ways that you can actually speak English better than native English speakers when it comes to grammar rules. Okay, so if you're ready, let's jump in. Let's get started. Now, if you like this kind of English lesson, I want to invite you to take a look at the English Fluency Formula, which is an ebook that I made for you with all my best tips. You can actually get a free sample of it when you click right up there. Okay. Awesome. So make sure you do that. You can check it out. And we're going to jump into many tips. So put on your seatbelt. Let's go. We're going to go quickly. So one word that a lot of native English speakers use that actually doesn't even exist. It's not even a standard American English word. It's ain't. So when people want to say is not, we'll often say ain't. You may have heard it. In fact, there's a really famous song that I love by Bill Withers that's like this. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away.
It means there is no sunshine when she is gone, talking about a woman that he loves. And there is no sunshine just didn't work with the melody, right? Or maybe that's just how he talks. So he said, ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And, you know, it's common. Is it correct? No, but is it common? Yes. So we use ain't to say is not or do not have, like I ain't got money, or I ain't got time. Ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's a famous meme you may have seen. So ain't is not correct, but it's common, okay? Another thing that a lot of native speakers do is make a double negative. So you heard me just say ain't no sunshine, which actually, if you think about it, would mean that there is sunshine when she's gone. But that's not what Bill Withers is trying to say in this song. He's trying to say that there is no sunshine. But ain't no sunshine is like negative, but it's not like math where negative equals a positive. It's still negative. So if I say I ain't got no money or I ain't got no time, it still means that I do not have money or I do not have time. However, again, it's not correct, but it's common, okay? You may even hear triple negatives like I ain't got no money for no one. That is super confusing, but you know what? It still means no money. It's still negative, even if it's a triple or a double negative. All right. Let's move on to another very common mistake that native speakers make all the time. And in fact, it's so common that I even hesitate to call it a mistake, because at what point does a mistake become correct? If, let's say, 90% of people are actually making the mistake, is it still a mistake? I would love to know your opinion in the comments, but this mistake is was versus were. So for example, a correct sentence would be, if I were you, I would study English more. But most people are gonna say, if I was you, I'd study English more. But were is correct in that situation. So which should you use in this situation? Like when most people are using was, it actually depends on the situation you're in. If you're in a casual situation, then I would probably recommend that you say was if I was you. But if you want to sound more educated, if you are in a professional situation or an academic situation, it might be better to go with were. And so as I share more of these mistakes, I think this is gonna be an underlying theme, is that you have to learn both ways if you want to be able to fit in wherever you are in any situation. Okay, let's move on to whom versus who. So whom is actually dropping out of use. It's not so popular anymore, but a correct way of using whom would be like, to whom did you write that love letter? Or to whom did you send that text? But nobody really talks like that. They're probably gonna say, who did you send that text to? Which is actually another mistake that I hadn't even written down to include in this video, is ending a sentence in a preposition like to. Super common, not correct. Another mistake that people often make, or native speakers I should say, is saying good instead of well. How you doing? I'm doing good, thanks. How you doing? Well, we should actually say well. I'm doing well, because it's an adverb. But I'm doing good is an adjective, but people usually say it that way. So you have to decide, do you want to sound correct or do you want to sound normal? Something to think about. Okay, so another one is who versus that. So we already talked about whom versus who. Let's talk about who versus that. So the rule is that who is for people and that is for things. But people mix these up all the time. We often use that for who instead of who. So the lady that works at the post office is so nice. But the correct version would be the lady who works at the post office is so nice. So either way, I think is common, but who would be more correct because we're talking about a person. Next, native speakers love to forget the subjunctive tense. So for example, it'd be really common to hear a sentence like, it's important that he studies a lot for this test. But the actual correct way would be, it's important that he study for the test. Subjunctive. That's why subjunctive is super hard for English speakers when we go to learn another language like Spanish. It took me years and years to understand what the subjunctive tense even was, because people don't even really use it anymore in English. I mean, we do, but not that much. Just like whom, or just like which is another example. Which versus that. So which is for non-essential information. That is supposedly for essential information. So for example, my neighbor, which has 3 children, is very friendly. Okay, so I guess that's not essential information. But I said my neighbor that lives on the left side of my house is very friendly. That would be more essential information because it kind of describes something important about that person. To be honest, this one's a little fuzzy. It's a little so-so. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, people don't use which as much as that. People don't use who as much as that, because that kind of covers a lot of situations and people tend to just want to use the easiest word. You'll hear that more often. All right, let's talk about whether and if. I don't know whether I should have pizza or tacos for lunch. Again, I'm getting hungry, you guys. I always make these videos when I'm hungry. I don't know why, but that is the correct usage of whether. Whether is when you have two or more options, but a lot of native speakers would say, I don't know if I should have pizza or tacos for lunch. I mean, it's not necessarily correct, but it's really common. So whether is for two or more choices, if is if you don't have another choice. So I don't know if I should eat pizza for lunch because I had pizza for dinner last night. True story. A lot of these examples remind me of when I was learning Spanish, and I had a friend who was a native Spanish speaker, and he happened to use this word that I love all the time. He would say vaina, and vaina means like thing, but it's kind of slang, I guess. And one day I was in my Spanish class in college and I used this word, and the teacher, she blew up on me. She said, vaina is not an appropriate word. That is not even a real word. So don't use it in Spanish class. And I was like, what? How can that be possible? Because my friend, he uses the word vaina all the time. And so I just want to sound like a native Spanish speaker. So I'm going to use the word vaina. If you're a native Spanish speaker, you can tell me in the comments, what do you think? Is it okay to use the word vaina? Like, me gusta esa vaina. I like that thing. Is that okay, or is that like not a real word? Okay, anyway, let's continue because I have many, many more ways that you can speak English better than a native English speaker when it comes to grammar, structure, and vocabulary. So let's keep going. Past versus past participle. This is a big one. Native English speakers will often confuse them or use the past participle when it should be the past tense, the simple past tense, or vice versa. So for example, there's a skit that I like from Key and Peele, Substitute Teacher, where the substitute teacher says, you done messed up, Aaron, but you done messed up is not really correct. Correct would be you have messed up, or you have made a mistake. But that's not how he says it in the video. That's not how he does it in the skit. But it still makes sense. I mean, people understand, even though it's not correct, right? Okay, another example. A mistake might be, people commonly say, he's drank 2 beers already and it's only 4 p.m. People often use, especially with this verb, to drink, we often use drank instead of drunk because we don't like using the word drunk in the past participle because it sounds like to be drunk, the adjective. And we don't want to say that. It's weird. But especially with this verb, we often just say he's drank, but it's not correct. So the correct version would be he's drunk. So he has drunk 2 beers already. Honestly, people are not using the present perfect as much anymore as they're using the past tense. So if someone wanted to say he has drunk, honestly, they'd probably just say he drank 2 beers already and it's only 4 p.m. That's gonna be more common. Even though the present perfect would be better in the situation when you're thinking about the rules, we're gonna use the simple past because it's just easier and we go for easy. But that's why so many English learners have trouble understanding the difference between the simple past and the present perfect because native English speakers are messing it all up and we're not using the present perfect as much as we use the simple past, even though we should be using the present perfect. But look, that's the way it is. People are commonly using the simple past more instead of the present perfect. Okay, another common mistake might be I should have went to the party. Not correct. I should have gone to the party would be correct. Okay, let's talk about reported speech. I'm gonna be super honest and tell you that I have had a problem with reported speech for so long because growing up in the United States as a native English speaker, I can tell you that people often do not use reported speech the way that you're supposed to according to proper, correct English grammar rules. So reported speech is if you're talking about what somebody else said to you. So for example, if my friend Sophia says, I am sick. Okay. So then if I'm telling you, let's say, my friend Sophia said she was sick, right? So we use the past tense. She said that she was sick. And I know this is confusing, not only for English learners, but also for me, a native English speaker, because honestly, people don't even use this very much anymore. They don't use it in the correct way. What most people say is, Sophia said she is sick. So we would say said, the first verb in the past tense, because I was in the past on the phone with my friend Sophia and she said in the past that she's sick, or she was sick, if I'm gonna say it in the correct way. But she's still presently sick, so that's why we communicate in the present tense even though it's not correct. But I'm just telling you this because it's very common. But again, the correct way would be using the past tense for both. She said she was sick. It's so confusing though, right? Because if we're saying was, then is she still sick right now? Okay, see what I mean? It's confusing. English is crazy. All right, if you're at the grocery store and you see those checkout lines where they say 10 items or less, those are super common signs, but they are incorrect. Supermarkets, grocery stores, correct yourselves. You need to be saying 10 items or fewer. Why? Because fewer is a word that we use with countable items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or fewer items. However, we often confuse these two words, fewer and less. So less is actually for non-count nouns such as sugar. Could you put a little less sugar in my drink? I don't like it so sweet. Oh man, I'm making less money this year than last year. So money, sugar, non-count nouns. Uncountable, we use less. But we mix these up. Native speakers, we just mess everything up. Let's talk about spelling and apostrophes for a moment. We often mess up their, as in they are, and their possessive. This is something I see all day long, all the time. We often mess up you are, your, and the possessive your, like your car is awesome. The most common mistake is people use the possessive your, Y-O-U-R, for both situations. So, you know, if you're sending a text to someone you like, please don't write Y-O-U-R awesome. I'd be like, you're awesome what? Your awesome car? This is one that does actually annoy me. The other ones that I've told you so far, I think they're honestly okay because they're really common. But when it comes to apostrophes, I'm sorry. I am a little bit hardcore. I get upset about the apostrophes because they mean different things. It's like you are versus possessive. So don't tell me in the comments Y-O-U-R beautiful. I'll be like, you need to learn your apostrophes. Okay, I'll settle down. Next. Everyday versus everyday. So every day, 2 words, 2, not 4. I'll choose one or the other. 2 words, 2 words. Every day means like each day, right? So every day I go jogging, which is true because I'm training for a 5K run in about a week. So I need to go jogging every day. So every day as one word is an adjective. For example, everyday items that you might find in someone's kitchen would be a pot, a spoon, a coffee maker. Every day describes items, right? So we need to know the difference. This is kind of a little thing, but it's a very common mistake. Oh, back to apostrophes, because I'm not done with apostrophes. There's something else that really bothers me when people talk about the day of the week, like Sundays, and then they put an apostrophe before the S. Sundays what? Sundays own what? Sundays ownership, Sundays, I don't understand. Why would you put an apostrophe? It doesn't need an apostrophe. Sunday does not own anything. Okay, rant over. Next, people are using the word actually, literally, and like. Okay, the words, plural. These vocabulary words are being used wrong. But is wrong really wrong when it is so commonly used? That's the thing, is that it's wrong by standard English rules. But are we just evolving? Devolving? I don't know. But people say actually as kind of a transition word now. Like, actually, I was thinking we shouldn't have pizza or tacos for lunch. We should have a hamburger. So it's like an interjection or a transition word now. Literally is really overused, but it's just become an intensifier. Like, actually is also used as an intensifier. Literally, she has 1,000 pairs of shoes. Probably not literally. Literally really means actually. Like, exactly. So I don't think she has exactly 1,000 pairs of shoes. Literally is now used to intensify the meaning of your expression, but that's not really the proper usage. Like is another one. Oh, English teachers and grammar snobs go crazy over the use of like, because we're using it as an intensifier, as a filler, as a transition. I was like, instead of I said, and then I was like, oh my God, I like can't believe it because like she literally has 1,000 pairs of shoes. Okay, next, me versus I. A lot of native speakers will mix these up. For example, me and my friend Sophia, or my friend Sophia and me. So me should not be used as a subject. It should be I, like my friend Sophia and I. Me is for a direct object. Sophia gave a book to me. Now, this gets super confusing when you start listening to music in English, because there's a popular song by 𝒂𝒂𝒔𝒆 and 𝒂𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒊𝒑𝒊𝒐𝒏 called Him and I.
I am his and he is mine. In the end, it's him and I.
My 65 speeding up the PCA.
Him and I. It's like, why would you put the direct object as a subject? But rappers can do whatever they want, so they don't have to play by the rules, do they? So anyway, me should not be a subject, bottom line. But if you're writing a rap song, go for it. One of my least favorite to talk about, because I don't follow the correct rule, is lay versus lie. So people don't like to say lie because it sounds like the noun to lie. It's kind of like why we don't like using the past participle of drunk, or to drink, which is drunk, because it sounds like the adjective, like, oh, he's drunk. So we don't want to confuse our meaning, but we've actually started using these verbs incorrectly. So the common thing that people will say is, oh, I'm gonna go lay down. I'm gonna go lay down and go to bed or take a nap or whatever. That's not correct, actually. We're supposed to use a direct object always with the verb lay. Like, for example, I'm going to lay my phone on my hand. So phone is the direct object. But nobody actually uses that verb very often. I mean, we probably just say, I'm gonna put my phone down on my hand. Weird example, I know, but I happen to have my phone here and I happen to have my hand here, so pretty handy. Ha! Okay, so we probably just say put instead of lay, and commonly we would say lie when we're supposed to say lay. I know, it's really confusing. Also, lay has another meaning, but we don't need to get into that. So the correct way to use these verbs is to say, I'm going to lie down in bed, and I'm going to lay the book on the table. That's correct. But do people actually say that? Nope. Okay, quickly, I just have a few more. We have further versus farther. So we often mix these up. Farther is really for specific numbers. Like I'm on a road trip, I'm like, oh, only 100 miles farther to get to Austin, Texas, because sometimes I drive down there to see my friends. Further is a little bit more figurative. Like I'm going to have to research this topic further in order to make a decision. Affect versus effect. People mix these up all the time. It's actually not that complicated. This one does annoy me. The effect with an A, the effect of studying more is you'll get better. The effect, I just mixed them up. Oh my God, did I just mix these up? I just mixed these up. To affect is the verb. I can't believe I just made a mistake. This is a great example of how native speakers mess everything up. The effect is the noun. That's because I'm not saying them right. The effect with an E, the effect of studying is you'll get better. To affect with an A, the verb is to affect, like making this video, I want to affect and help thousands of people. Whew, this is difficult, you guys. This is difficult for us native speakers. And finally, the probably top most common mistake, I don't know why I quoted it, because I don't think it's a mistake because we do it so commonly, but it really is a mistake. No quotation marks about it. When we mix up is and are, talking about singular and plural subjects. For example, here's a lesson, here's an English lesson with many tips for you. That's actually correct because here is an English lesson, one English lesson. But if I said, here's many tips for you, that would be incorrect. Although it's super common to hear that. Here is many tips, it's actually incorrect. I should say, here are many tips for you. So there you have it. There's many tips for you. Sorry, but it's the way it is. So bottom line, what is correct and what is common are not always the same thing. You can actually speak English more correctly than most native speakers if you make these changes, if you actually use these points that I just told you correctly. If you want to fit in and sound more natural, then you may consider using both the correct way and the most common way, depending on your situation. If you're in a more professional situation, I would probably opt for the correct version. If you're taking a test, definitely opt for the correct version. If you're talking with your friends, then maybe you could use the more common yet incorrect version. Here's the thing, is do you want to be perfect or do you want to connect with people? Do you want to always use the correct version or do you want to use the common version? I mean, do you ever break the rules in order to do something that makes a little bit more sense? Like, for example, a lot of people in the United States will cross the street even if they don't have the green light or the little crosswalk man to cross, if they see there's no one coming, because it just makes sense. If there's no car coming, we can cross the street and it's safe, right? We don't have to wait for the rule that says we should wait for the light to cross the street. I know this is different in different countries, different places, but I mean, man, go to New York City and you're gonna see people cross the street when they wanna cross the street, and they will actually yell at the cars if the car doesn't stop for them. Like, hey, I'm walking here, what are you doing? So, rules are funny things, aren't they? So tell me in the comments, what do you think is the best decision? Is it better for you personally to use the correct version, or do you think it's better for you to use the more common version of these points in English? I'm waiting for your response. I'm always here to help you with English learning so that you can learn the correct way and also the most natural way. So thank you so much for watching. Again, if you'd like to learn all my best tips in one awesome resource, grab your free sample of the English fluency formula right over there. You can subscribe if you haven't already. What are you doing? Subscribe by clicking right down there. Or you can watch another video, click right down there to see the last one that came out last week. I will see you again soon in the next lesson here at Go Natural English. I love you guys. Mwah! Bye for now.